Hey everybody, it's X, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today I'll be back with another Premier Draft of Dominaria. So without further ado, let's check out what's in our Pack 1 to pick one here. So I'm going to be taking in Bolas's Clutches. I think this is one of the strongest cards in the whole format. It's a mind control effect, allowing you to gain control of one of your opponent's permanents permanently. So you can take their planeswalkers or their creatures. Those are the most common cards you're going to go for. Super ridiculous card. It's a huge removal spell and a bomb all in one. Mind control effects are always ridiculous. Honestly, the next card I would pick out here is probably Skittering Surveyor. This is an excellent pack one, pick one, because it's going to be perfect in just any deck you're running, even if you're just two colors. To make sure you keep hitting your land drops, you play this and you'll get your fourth land drop guaranteed. Make sure your colors are on point. Skittering Surveyor is just an excellent card. If neither of these were in here, we've got solid removal like Eviscerate, and then we have weaker removal like Fiery Intervention, and a nice evasive threat, the Pegasus Courser. But a pretty easy in Bolas's Clutches for me, pack one. As much as I'd love to take Skittering Surveyor here, we do have another premium uncommon, in my opinion, in this pack, and that is Song of Freyalise. This card is pretty bonkers. So the first two parts of the saga allow your creatures to tap for a mana of any color. That'll help you dump your hand out really quickly and get as many creatures on the board as possible. And the reason you want that is when the third part of this saga hits, you're going to give your entire field a +1/+1 counter, and give them Vigilance, Trample, and Indestructible until end of turn, leading to pretty much a free attack. This card is really, really good. It just works with itself so well, letting you, again, dump your hand out really quick, and then buffing everything you just put on the board. So Song of Freyalise, pretty bonkers card, super powerful. We are going to have to take that over Skittering Surveyor, as much as I love Surveyor. Again, if Song of Freyalise weren't in here, I would slam Skittering Surveyor. I take this over pretty much any good common, and there are good commons in here. Academy Drake's a pretty solid one. It's probably, oh yeah, Blessed Light as well, pretty great removal spell. But yeah, Song of Freyalise is dumb. We get a pick 3 Siege Gang Commander, one of the best rares in the whole set. So now our mana base is going to start getting kind of awkward. We're unlikely to be able to play all 3 of the cards that we've drafted, but Siege Gang Commander is a mega bomb. 5 mana for a 2/2 that comes with 3 1/1 red goblins, and it allows you to throw any of those goblins, including Siege Gang Commander itself, at a target to do 2 damage for 2 mana. Incredibly good card. It's like 4 removal spells in one if it isn't immediately dealt with. It's 4 different cards you can sacrifice for 2 damage. Siege Gang Commander's bonkers. Even if it's dealt with immediately, it still leaves behind 3 1/1 goblins. So busted card. We're happy to take it. If it weren't in the pack, maybe a Fungal Plots to go towards our green strategy. Other than that, Windgrave Acolyte, flyers are pretty decent in the format. That fills your grave. Get to Chronicler has a nice kicker effect. As does Skinwitch. Not too much else going on in the pack outside of the Siege Gang Commander. So now we have Sapperling Migration, which happens to work really well with Song of Freyalise, as well as it's just one of the better green commons. We also have Academy Journey Wage, one of the premier blue commons. Blue-red's a super powerful strategy too, and it can be wizard-focused, which will make Academy Journey Mage even stronger. So if we take this lends itself well into us going for a blue-red deck with Siege Gang Commander and Bolas's Clutches. We take Sapperling Migration, it just makes Song of Freyalise better. I think it's definitely between those 2 cards for me, and I think they're both pretty excellent. I don't think we can go super wrong here. I think Siege Gang Commander also just happens to work super well with Song of Freyalise, so I kind of like going Sapperling Migration, maybe going down the Song of Freyalise path here, rather than the blue-red wizards kind of path. See another Blessed Light, pretty late white removal here, but again, we have really strong stuff in green, red, and blue, so ideally we don't have to go in that direction. Grow from the Ashes is fine. I wouldn't play this in just any deck, but if you are happening to go 3-color in a splash or just a full-on 3-color deck, it's going to be decent. And we might be heading in that direction. We have really powerful cards we'd like to splash in that do require 2 mana of their mana cost. So I think I'll take Grow from the Ashes here. I think Blessed Light's the best card in here by far, but for what we're doing right now, Grow from the Ashes can possibly put in some work. Now, another Sapperling Migration. I'm super happy to take that to go with our Song of Freyalise. Cloudrider Sphinx is a great blue common, probably better than Sapperling Migration in general, but again, in this instance, I think Sapperling Migration looks better to me, and we can just lock in on green here for sure. deciding if we want to play green-red or green-blue or all three in the future. But yeah, Cloud Ranger Sphinx is an excellent card. It's the same mana cost as like an Air Elemental, which is a 5-mana 4/4 flyer, which is super good. This, you're trading out 1 power to scry 2, which is a pretty good deal. Once you have 5 mana, you don't really need any more lands, so any lands you hit on the top with the scry is almost equivalent to just like drawing a card off the Cloud Ranger Sphinx. Now, really don't have much. We have another Grow from the Ashes, I guess, or a Gift of Growth is a solid trick. Syncopate's a good counterspell, although I don't know how often I'll be able to just hold up mana for counters when I have so many sorceries and creatures I'll just be wanting to jam out during my turn. I'm not super high on Syncopate here. We'll take another Grow from the Ashes, potentially a Teamer super splashy deck. Wow, Firefist Adept is really good for the Wizards decks. That being said, we're really not going down that path right now. You know, double Sapling Migration, Song of Freyleys, we're really down the green token deck path. That being said, there's nothing for that strategy anyway. Like, we're not going to play Journey Mage in a deck that doesn't have Wizards. We're not going to play Broken Bond main deck, so there's nothing here that we're going to be playing for our green deck, so I think I'd take Firefist Adept here. We could take Coldwater Snapper. I mean, that'd be better if we end up in green-blue. But Firefist Adept going pick 8 makes me want to stay open to maybe going for the Wizard's tribal strategy, because it is quite powerful. This pack's a really easy Fiery Intervention. Not the greatest removal spell, but it's still a removal spell. So, better than anything else in that pack. And the only quote-unquote on-color card. I don't really think I'm going to want 3 Grow from the Ashes, even if I do play multicolored, and Academy Drake's pretty good. And we're seeing this pick 10. A 3-mana 2/2 flyer is a fine deal in the format. Flyers are good in this format, and the kicker cost is great if you top deck this late game when you're flooding out. Getting a 4/4 flyer out of the deal is super nice. I am really feeling it that I didn't take that Coldwater Snapper, because now, yeah, I am looking at this pile, seeing that Academy Drake so late. Just like a green-blue, just green-blue general, like ramp/value deck here looks like it would be really good. Firefist Adept is just doing nothing with everything we have so far. So yeah, I really think like green-red would have been good. But we're seeing Gitu Journey Mages pick 12, and this is one of the best wizards for blue-red aggro wizards, so I don't know. It's not paying off and paying off at the same time, which is super awkward, because like green-blue definitely is looking open, looking good. But so is blue-red wizards potentially, because we got that Journey Mage super late, Firefist Adept pretty late. We're going to have to make some decisions in Pack 2 here. We can certainly bounce around between all 3 colors till the end of Pack 2, but we need to know what we are doing by the time Pack 3 starts. We need to know for sure. And that has been decided for us with one of the most powerful cards in the format, Tatyova, Benthic Druid. 5 mana for a 3/3 isn't a good deal, but whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life and draw a card, making this a ridiculous card draw engine. And it's super good with Grow from the Ashes, which we happen to have 2 copies of. Tatyova is easily the pick here, and we're hoping to be the green-blue, just the Simic value pile. Again, we do see Get to Lava Runner here if we wanted to be pushing into blue-red wizards, but I don't think that's happening. I think we cut the wizards. We might still try to splash Siege Gang Commander because we have Grow from the Ashes that can pull 2 lands out of our deck. We can just pull double Mountain out for Siege Gang. And since we are trying to splash in that way, we could take Halar the Fire Fletcher here, which is great with any kicker cards, which we have 5 already. 2 Grow from the Ashes that have kicker, 2 Sapling Migrations that have kicker, 1 Gift of Growth has kicker, Academy Drake has kicker too. Yeah, Halar can get some counters. Even just a 3-mana 3/3 trample is pretty good in this format. This might get even bigger, have some counters, and really slam some people. So I'm really looking forward to any Skittering Surveyors we see. I'll take over almost anything at this point. I might even use a 3rd Grow from the Ashes. Divination is a solid card. We could take that if we wanted to play it safe here and keep the red more to a splash than a core color of our deck. But we're getting a little wild with it. We're going to see if we can have like 3 core colors. So Tetsuko Umezawa is going to be quite powerful in our strategy here because we've got a lot of Sapling production potentially. We already have 2 Sapling Migrations. We have 3 1/1 Goblins from Siege Gang Commander. This will make all of your creatures with power or toughness 1 unblockable. So all of our Sapling tokens and Goblin tokens. So yeah, Tetsuko Umezawa, not a bad fit for this deck. Keldon Overseer is not good for us, or Lava Runner or Fervent Strike. And Nature's Spiral, Pierce the Sky. Yeah, basically the only thing in our colors, and we're pretty happy to play it. Now we have Academy Journey Mage, really good with Wizards, and even at 5 mana, it's a pretty good effect. We could certainly have just been blue-red wizards if we wanted to, but it looks like we're turning into some weird Teamer token hybrid thing where Wild Onslaught might be better. Maybe even Cold Water Snapper here, just a big hexproofer. Don't really have the cheap wizards to reduce the cost of Journey Mage. That's where this card gets absolutely busted if you play this for only 4. I'm probably on Wild Onslaught here. I mean, Mammoth Spider's good too. Yeah, Cold Water Snapper, Mammoth Spider, and Wild Onslaught all seem good to me. I'll take an Onslaught. Just get more kicker in here. This pack actually looks pretty bad for us. I'm not going to play Impulse or Landwehr Envoy. Even though I'm 3-color, I much prefer Grow from the Ashes, Skittering Surveyor type mana fixing. And we already have double Grow from the Ashes and Song of Freyalise, so we don't need mana fixing hard enough to play the 3-mana 3-2. So I'm just going to take a Get to Lava Runner, just in case somehow there's just so much good blue-red wizard stuff that we get to push into that. And, yeah. I mean, Clouders Sphinx is a pretty good card. That would be good for the blue-green value pile. We have that Journey Mage and that Fire Fist adept, though. How greedy am I? I just want to push back into blue-red wizards. Drop all this green. I mean, our green actually isn't legitimately that good. Maybe we're splashing the green and using blue-red wizards as the core. It's kind of wild. Let's jump ship here and maybe we are blue-red wizards as the core. We're not getting past any good green at this point. I don't know. Again, the blue flyer is a little bit weaker than Academy Journey Mage, but it's a more flexible card, so I probably should have taken it there, but I'm getting like really bold with these picks. I'm just assuming things could work out, basically. Alright, well, blue-red wizards things isn't working out because now we just get Spore Swarm, so we're right back onto the main thing I was doing. I should have just taken that 3/4 flyer that Scries to. I shouldn't have taken that Fire Fist Adept earlier. We should have a Cold Water Snapper in here instead. Yeah, all of my speculative picks are just not working out. All I'm doing here is basically cutting the one person who's trying to go blue-red wizards in our pod. They're just going to be really sad now because I'm like considering it and just never actually jumping in. It's a pretty bad time for them. So we're definitely like green as the core, splashing the other colors. Yeah, these wizard cards aren't good. Yep, it's definitely still looking like green-blue splashing in the red. But wow, are we open to being wizards? Or would we have been open if we jumped on it earlier? A bunch of poop near the end of the pack as usual. I guess we could potentially run that Landwehr Envoy. I'm not going to be super happy with it. Guys, Protector's similar, wouldn't be really happy to run it, but we could. Okay, double Tatyova. Let's go. The Mending of Dominaria is fun, but it's like really slow. So for 5 mana you mill 2, then return a creature from your grave to hand. You do that twice, so it's essentially a draw 2, and then you just shuffle your graveyard back to your library. Maybe ramp a little bit. On par, Tatyova is usually going to be better, because you're always going to draw at least 1 card off Tatyova, and you'll often draw 2, and you'll pull a removal spell out of your opponent's hand, because they're going to want to kill Tatyova. So Tatyova is probably just better than this rare. As cute as it is. Mending of Dominaria is kind of cool, but Tatyova's busted. We'll take a second. Well, we're double Grow from the Ashes. We're kind of a ramp deck here. We could go for the Verdant Force. If this card resolves and isn't killed immediately, you do get at least 1 sapling out of it, and obviously the longer it stays on board, the more it absolutely takes over the game. Just spits out 1,000,000 saplings. Probably the best card in this pack, even though it costs 1,000,000 mana. Which means we have to work towards it. There's a Skittering Surveyor! It's my boy! I'm going to take it over Fungal Plots. I will not elaborate. Skittering Surveyor is my boy. Okay. Alright, well, we've got some time, so I guess I will elaborate. We can really use the mana fixing in this deck, and Skittering Surveyor is already an excellent card, even if you don't need mana fixing that bad. Again, 3 mana for a 1/2, it draws you a card every time. Sure, that card's a land, but when you have a lot of 4 and 5 drops, which you almost always do in Dominaria, that land is a legitimately valuable card. So it's like a 3 mana 1/2 that draws a card when it enters the battlefield. It's always going to be a good deal. And here in particular, we could really use it. I am happy to take another Song of Freyalise as well. How many creatures do we have? We have 12 creatures, but we have double Sapperling Migration, so basically 14 creatures already. Yeah, I'm going to take another Song of Freyalise here. The other options in here aren't particularly powerful. Again, they're really specific, really narrow, like Get to Lava Runner. We're on the red splash here, so as Bloodstone Goblin is a solid 2 and a 2/2, but it's in our splash color, so it's hard to cast. We don't have enough artifacts to try to do the Antiquities board thing. Easy Song of Freyalise, I think. We have exactly a 23 card deck now, so every card we pick is going to go towards cutting a weaker card. Weakest cards in our deck right now are probably Gaia's Protector, Llanowar Envoy. That's a beautiful pickup, a Llanowar Elf's here. We could pick up a second Tetsuko Umezawa, which is cute, but we didn't actually end up with that much Sapperling production, as cool as that is. We just have the 2 Sapperling makers and the 1 Goblin maker. It's not like we're making everything unblockable. We could also pick up a second Journey Mage, but again, we don't have too many wizards, so this is actually just a good deal, not a busted card. It's a busted card when you're casting it for 4. It's still a good deal at 5 mana, but not a good enough deal to take over Llanowar Elves here, I think, when we have like 8 drops in our deck. Just the Ramp Dork seems pretty good. I am not going to play a 3 mana 2/3 just because it makes our Journey Mage better. Actually, maybe I will. Am I going to play 2 Gift of Growths in this deck? I already want to cut non-creatures for more creatures right now, so if I take a Gift of Growth, it's really likely it just gets cut, because I need to cut non-creatures. So sure, Tolarian Scholar that I really don't want to play, but I guess I'd rather play a 3 mana 2/3 than a 3 mana 3/2. Especially when that 2/3 can make my Journey Mage cheaper. I don't really like Adventurous Impulse. I'll just take an Urza's Tome for the Vault's Progress. If you don't own every single card in the set, you can just hold down the Alt key and see what you're missing if you're in a rare draft position like I was there. But if you do own every card in the set and you're not going to play anything in the pack, like I'm not going to play anything here, actually maybe I'll play Aspiring Construct, so I might as well take that. But if I was in this position and I wasn't going to play any of these cards, I could just take Shield of the Realm. Since it's uncommon, it'll fill my vault faster and I'll get wild cards out of the set quicker. Would I play Sparring Construct over Gaia's Protector? Sure, why not? We have stuff that cares about ones like Tatsuko Umezawa. We have stuff that cares about cheap creatures like Song of Freyalise. Why not? Probably not playing Blood Tallow Candle, but I don't have a lot of removal, so... We only have Fiery Intervention in below us as Clutches. Those are pretty dang good removal spells, but there's just not a lot of them. I already cut 1 Protector, I'll just cut another, but I'm not going to splash in Warlord's Fury. Take another Protector just in case. I could also just take an uncommon for Vault Progress. I'm actually kind of happy to take Fungal Plots here. This is nice with Sapperling Migration. Nice way to try to take over a long game too. Syncopate's not bad either. But again, I think we're doing a lot of just tapping out during our turn. We're not holding up counter mana often in this deck. We could have had like 50 Gitsu Lava Runners. The Lava Runners were wide open here. We could have like the 50 Gitsu Lava Runner 6 Warlord's Fury deck that just shreds as fast as possible. 1 mana 2/2's haste. Just keep cycling all the instants and sorceries to just flow through the deck. I stand by the fact that we could have just been blue-red wizards if we really wanted to, but we opened up 2 Tatyovas, so go down the green path instead. Alright, so here we are with the final version of the deck, kind of a 3-color Tatyova deck, mainly just splashing in the red for Siege Gang Commander, but we also have a Fiery Intervention since the deck is pretty low on removal, and Halar since we run a decent amount of Kicker. We're going to splash those in off of double Grow from the Ashes, casting a single kicked Grow from the Ashes can pull both of our mountains out of our deck. Alternatively, we have Skittering Surveyor and 2 copies of Song of Freyalise. If either of the Song of Freyalise is on board and we have 2 creatures out, we can get our double red needed for Siege Gang Commander, since all our creatures can tap for 1 mana of any color. So the splash shouldn't be the hardest thing in the world. I think we definitely will have mana issues some games, but we have a lot of ways to fix that, so hopefully it won't happen too often. So the splash looks pretty easy. Some notable cuts that we did end up doing is we cut the Wild Onslaught, and the reason is because we have double Song of Freyalise, which is basically just a better, cheaper version of the card. Wild Onslaught is only going to be better than Song of Freyalise if you're spending the 8 mana for it, which should be a rarity. That is a lot of mana, whereas Song of Freyalise is going to get just as many +1/+1 counters. It's going to be a counter on all of our creatures, as well as being half the price of hard casting Wild Onslaught, and it also lets our creatures all tap for mana on the first couple turns, which really helps us dump a bunch of stuff on the board. So with double Song of Freyalise, Wild Onslaught is redundant and weaker. We also ended up cutting Gift of Growth. We just don't really need combat tricks, so we needed to make room, cut some non-creature spells for some more creatures, because again, with that double Song of Freyalise, we want to have as high of a creature count as possible, so those can really pop up or pop off and get a bunch of +1/+1 counters on the whole field. So those are the cuts. That's how the mana base hopefully works, the Surveyor Grow from the Ashes and all that. Our general win conditions are obviously going to be just valuing out our opponent with Tatyova, but we can also just win con by having a bunch of creatures out with Song of Freyalise to make sure our board state is better and we get that one free attack in. We have some ridiculous cards to ramp into. An ad started playing in the background. My apologies about that. But I was going to say we also have just single-handedly powerful win cons, like Verdant Force can really close out a game if we ever ramp into that. Siege Gang Commander closes out a game, as well as in Bolas's Clutches. So the deck looks pretty good to me. A lot of different ways to win the game, just jamming one big card or a bunch of little cards with a Song of Freyalise at their side. We do have some pretty filler-level creatures like Tolarian Scholar and Sparring Construct just to up the creature count, because that's just the kind of mediocre creatures we ended up with. I don't think there was a ton we could have done in the draft to have better early game creatures, because I think the biggest picks that I remember that did not pan out were all the ones where we took a good wizard card, and I think most of the time we took like the good wizard card over like a big on color card like a Cold Water Snapper that would be at 6. Or the Cloud Rager Sphinx that would have been at 5 mana. Those were the two big misses that I can remember during the draft. I don't think either of those would have helped the deck too much, because we're missing more on good cheap creatures than good expensive creatures. Our creatures at 5 and greater are pretty phenomenal. So yeah, definitely, again, could have used higher quality mid-range and early game creatures, but other than that, a little bit of a lack of removal, but that's going to happen in any deck that has green as the core. Green just does not have good removal in this format. Ancient Animus is not a very good card, and so I don't feel too bad about not having 1 or 2 copies of it. But yeah, we could have had more splashable removal than just the 1 Fiery Intervention. Outside of that, looks like a pretty good deck. Those are the weaknesses. Those are the strats. That is the plan. Without further ado, let's head into Game 1. All right, well, quadruple green is certainly awkward with this hand. We don't even know that we're going to cast anything ever, because we need specifically a blue or red source. We need double red for Siege Gang. This has got to be a mulligan here. This is a lot better. We do just need to hit 1 land, any land, to get to Grow from the Ashes, which should help the hand dramatically. I think we get rid of Bolas's Clutches, as powerful as that card is. We're just by far the farthest away from that. Although we could get rid of Fungal Plots here. I mean, this doesn't really do anything until late game anyway. We need creatures in our graveyard to make it function. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of Fungal Plots, actually. We need Saproling production or creatures in graveyard for it to do a thing, so just get rid of that here. Right, and we do hit the mana we need to cast a turn 3 Grow from the Ashes if we want. Probably just go for a turn 3 Academy Drake, although we may have to trade it off into Unicorn. Hopefully we keep hitting lands so that we can kick the Grow from the Ashes, because now we've drawn an 8-drop Verdant Force, which should be a pretty good game ender if we can ramp into it. But again, we need to hit a lot more mana to get to that. And to most of the hand. We did hit a land here. That's pretty excellent. I am still just running 17 lands and not 18. The reason is because I do have 2 Grow from the Ashes and a Skittering Surveyor that all pull mana out of the deck, and a Llanowar Elves that functions basically like a land. That still might be a bit bold. Maybe I should still be running 18 lands anyway, because we do have double Tatyova and Verdant Force kind of stuff. But I think it makes up for it. This might be a syncopate from our opponent. Certainly is. Academy Drake gets countered here, and we will not be blocking the Mace Unicorn anytime soon. Down to 16. They gained another 2 from that Unicorn, up to 24. At least they are stuck on 2 mana here. Could Grow from the Ashes for the red source. That makes sure I know I can cast Fiery Intervention and Tatyova next turn. I don't really want to cast Tatyova turn 5, though, because I'd rather be able to play Tatyova and have a land to play the turn I play her, so even if they have instant speed removal, I get something out of the deal. But I think I will grow from the ashes for the red source because we have nothing else to do this turn. So unfortunately not saving that for the 2 mana we need for Verdant Force. Because just getting the 1 land from it makes us able to cast Fire Intervention or Tatyova, and we're only 1 land away from Bolas's Clutches now. And if we can cast those 3 cards, that'll give us the time we need to hit the 2 more mana for Verdant Force. Alright, our opponent has hit the 3rd land now, which gives them Skittering Surveyor, allowing them to grab the 4th land. So an excellent card there. Sapling Migration is the draw. That kicks for 6 mana, unfortunately. They're blue-white here, so they're not going to have a great way to kill Tatyova for only 4 mana, as far as I remember. They could bounce it back to our hand. They could deal 4 damage to it if we block with it, or they could exile it if it's tapped. As far as I remember, we're actually somewhat safe to just slam down Tatyova here, because they're tapped out there. At 5 mana, they can exile target creature, but most of white's removal that's cheaper than 5 is conditional. The only blue removal spell I can think of that would get rid of it would make it a 0/4, which is still good for us. We can just get a 0/4 blocker out here. We're fine with that. Alright, if they slam in, they very obviously have Gideon's Reproach or a combat trick, probably Gideon's Reproach to deal 4 to an attacker or blocker, especially if they hold mana up here. If they hold the mana up, they're probably hoping we attack with Tatyova for Reproach. I would find it highly suspicious after being stuck on mana for a little while that they don't have stuff to play for 4 or less. Okay, cool, so they do play Sergeant at Arms. We do hit the 6th land, which is absolutely beautiful. We can gain a life, draw a card off Tatyova, and we can Sapling Migration here. Kicked. There's nothing on their board big enough to want to clutch or intervention. So let's get a bunch of 1/1s to get blocking, and I don't really want to attack with Tatyova in case they have Seal Away to exile a tapped creature of mine. Not really worth the 3 damage when they're at 28, I think. If we win this game, it's going to be from just overwhelming value and not slowly but surely like incremental damage here. And we're putting Tatyova at a pretty big risk sending in there. Sergeant at Arms is coming in for 2. We're at 12. We could take the 2, or we could just triple block with 3 Saplings and see what on earth they plan to do here. Let's see the trick. Let's see the ruse. They're going to bounce one and draw a card. We probably should have just quadruple blocked. There's not really a reason not to. And that plays it safe against bounce spells, like Blink of an Eye. It works out for us, but I think we really should have quadruple blocked there. I guess that plays worse if they have Adamant Will in hand for +2/+2 to the 2/3, because then they'd kill all 4 Saplings. But I think Blink of an Eye is a little more popular than Adamant Will. They're both pretty popular, though. Alright, well, just getting rid of some of our Saplings and dropping another Surveyor, I guess, and then a Knight of Nubenalia. Well, the Saplings are beautiful against that. Gain a life, draw a card. We've got the 8th mana for Verdant Force coming up now. This is excellent. We can drop a Halar here, because they don't really want to intervention anything still. Yep. Our deck is very okay with just sitting here and grinding out the long game. That's what Tatyova is all about. That's what Verdant Force is all about. So no reason to get aggressive here and send anybody in. We'll just hang out. Cloud Reader Sphinx. That, I believe, is going to draw out removal or Bolas's Clutches. Probably just go with the Fiery Intervention here. Keep holding on to Clutches. Just get as greedy as possible with it. Yeah, especially since they're scrying on top, that means there's something good up there. So we could slam down Verdant Force, but then we're taking some damage in the sky, which I don't love. We've got Siege Gang Commander as soon as we hit another red source. We've got double Song of Freyalise, Skittering Surveyor. Add another mountain in there and one more grow from the ashes. We have tons of red sources we could hit for the siege gang. I was going to say we do have to worry about closing out the game eventually because we will mill ourselves with Tatyova, but we'll certainly be able to close it out with Verdant Force and Bolas's Clutches and siege gang commander in hand. So we're going to keep playing the slow game here and just fiery intervention for now. Nothing to hold up, so we'll drop Scholar. Just be nice and safe, see if Tatyova can't get us back up to 20 here eventually. They do, again, have the mana now to take out Tatyova, for sure. Because now they do have Blessed Light mana to just exile target creature. Blue, again, would really just be Deep Freeze, which is still bad for us because we wouldn't draw the cards anymore, but at least she'd still be a blocker. At this point, that matters less, though. Now we've got plenty blockers even without her. Alright, so Merfolk, Trickster, and Banalish Marshal for the turn. Pretty big plays, but not really enough to crack through our board state. We've got a Spore Swarm coming up, too. Could clutch that Banalish Marshal, which would be pretty cool. They do have double blue up, which is Wizard's Retort mana for a counterspell. Bolas's Clutches, we have 2 mana up. That's not enough for a Spore Swarm or anything. I'll just see if they have the counter. If they counter Verdant Force, then Bolas's Clutches doesn't get countered, and they didn't counter Verdant Force, so I think we're pretty good here. If we Bolas's Clutches a Banalish Marshal when we have a Verdant Force down, that's going to be disgusting, but I don't think it's necessary, so I probably still want to hold on to Bolas's Clutches. It's the only removal spell left in our deck after Fiery Intervention's cast. So Zahid, we probably want to Bolas's Clutches here. Alright, and that will do it. Here we are in game 2 with Teamer Tatyova. I'm going to keep this hand, but it is a bit risky. Red is our splash color, so we can go ahead and just pull the blue source out with Grow from the Ashes here and hope for the best. But Song of Freyalise does allow the Tetsuko Umezawa to cast the Fiery Intervention. So I don't know, we'll see how this pans out. It doesn't look super good or super promising, but because we have multiple ways to pull out other colors, I'm going to keep it here. Luckily, our opponent's on a pretty slow start, just a 0-2, does tap for mana, but Fungal Plots doesn't do anything till later in the game when they start exiling stuff from their grave. So Grow from the Ashes is going to pull out our blue source. Song of Freyalise will be our red source if we need it. But now I think we'll start casting our creatures. There's a Mammoth Spider from our opponent, so Academy Drake is not going to be particularly exciting. So I kind of like just going Tetsuko Umezawa and Corrosive Ooze here, I suppose. Probably want a Fiery Intervention that spider next turn, thanks to Song of Freyalise. We have exactly enough mana to do that. We'll take the 3 for now. And call the Cavalry some 2/2 tokens. Probably want to block those with our 1/3. Yep, let's go for the Song of Freyalise here. Tap our Corrosive Ooze to get rid of that giant spider there. We'll probably kick an Academy Drake next turn, so now we have a big flyer. Now that their reach creature is gone, they can go ahead and use Fungal Plots to turn that spider into a Sapperling. Get their value out of the deal. Banalish Honor Guard, another 2/2 to get blocked by our 1/3 all day. This is a trick. They have 3 mana up, probably +2/+2, I guess. Which is going to kill Tetsuko Umezawa no matter what we block. Can't really afford to just take it all, because I take 5 and then I take it all next turn. Yeah, I mean, we'll get them to use their combat trick here. Maybe not a trick. We did kill a Sapperling there. Alright. Not a trick. And they had Song of Freyalise too, so they were willing to chump attack with a 1/1, even with a Song of Freyalise coming up that's going to buff them all. I'm very okay with that. We can kick Academy Drake and cast Fungal Plots. And we can use that Fungal Plots. We can't use Fungal Plots. There's no creatures in our grave. Alright, so yeah, Fungal Plots isn't going to do anything for us, but we can still cast it. But I think I'd rather keep my creatures up as blockers than cast the useless Fungal Plots right now. We could like play around them killing our Academy Drake here by playing the Fungal Plots. That way when it goes to our turn, we can exile it from our grave and get the 1/1 Sapling before Song of Freyalise pops off, so that Sapling gets a counter 2. But that feels like a really niche scenario, and I'd rather just have 3 blockers up. Super suspicious attacks. Again, they might be killing Academy Drake here. We get a 5/5 flyer off of Song of Freyalise if we don't put Academy Drake at risk here. Is this like a +1/+1? I don't know why. They attacked in last turn. They didn't kill Tetsuga Umezawa when we blocked a 1/1. So what would kill it if we blocked a 2/2 but not a 1/1? They have just 1 damage to all our creatures? It wouldn't be wild. They didn't have the mana for Wild Onslaught last turn. Or maybe they did because of Song of Freyalise being able to tap their stuff. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They have the mana to kick a Wild Onslaught now, and if they kick a Wild Onslaught, we lose the game. Either way, right? Because if we do this block, both our creatures die and we lose. We don't do this block, we take 8 damage. And we're at like 5 life and all our creatures are 4/4s, and then Song of Freyalise pops off too. Yeah, I'm just going to block here, because if it's 2+++ encounters on all their creatures, then we're just out of it either way. That's so weird. So they had Gideon's Reproach on their attack last turn, and we're just like, nah. Alright. That'll do it. That is very bad for us. Now they get their massive indestructible attack in this turn, and their whole field is permanently 3/3s, which we can't block well. I think they just win, but that was a really weird past couple of turns there. I don't know how I could have played around that Gideon's Reproach because of how they decided to attack the turn before that, and then just had nothing. We still have a shot here. Skittering Surveyor is definitely really helpful. It's going to gain us a life and draw us a card here, and we could maybe hit something important. Another land is important enough. Fungal Plots gets us a 1/1 here, so we have 5 blockers for their 5 creatures. Still staying in it for now. Again, we didn't make any attacks last turn because our creatures would die for nothing. But now they'll actually trade. So we are probably going to try some blocks here. We trade a 1/1 into a 3/3. A 3/3 into a 3/3. That just trumps. We take 3. They could use a combat trick to kill us. Sure. I'm fine with that. Alright, no combat trick to kill us. Get another Sapling here now that Surveyor's dead. Get another one from Ooze next turn. Sapling Migration's massive, especially with Fungal Plots down. Gain a life, draw a card first. Think we migrate here. 1, 2, 3, 4 for the kicker. 1, 2 for the cost. 4 attackers here. We need to be ready to block and kill anything that attacks. But we're going to have 5 Saplings, even if we attack with 1 unblockable one here. I think we do jam in with the unblockable Sapling. Land from our opponent into Thorn Elemental. Well, we need in Bolas's Clutches or Thorn Elemental kills us, because it does 7 damage to us guaranteed. So we need to draw some cards. But we can wait till our turn and see if we top deck it off of just draw for turn or Tatyova first. Because we're going to need these Saplings if we can keep them. Okay. Extra draw off Tatyova. That doesn't save us. We have to start sacrificing Saplings. I guess we have enough Saplings. We have 6 of them, so we can sacrifice 6 to gain 6. We'll be at 9 against this Thorn Elemental. Do we attack first? Do we just attack with all 6 and then draw 3 cards here? I don't think we attack. but I think we have to start sacrificing them. I'm pretty sure. I don't think we can just pass turn, because we just pass turn, what do? They attack with just Thorn Elemental, and then we have to sack all of our saplings, which means we don't have enough power to kill Thorn Elemental anyway. Could be wrong here, but I'm going to get sacking. There we go. All right, I was right. Bolas's Clutches. There we go. Again, that doesn't necessarily mean I was right. That means I was lucky, but I'm pretty sure that our only out there was to try to draw into Bolas's Clutches. And the only question there was whether we start sacrificing saplings right now, or we wait till they go for their attack and then gain up to 9, take down to 2. I mean, it definitely panned out for us that we just went for it immediately. I don't want to attack too hard, but I do have the ability to gain 4 life on the board. I can be at 10. Let's hold 4 blockers. Multi-block on the Thorn Elemental. Alright, cool with me. Kill 2 of these 3/3s. Now we can just keep attacking with the 1/1s and have no counterattacks from our opponent. Hit them for 7, 7, 8, and 9, 10. No. I want to kill these. They get a bunch of saplings of their own from their fungal plots, but that is okay, I think. One more sapling, right? Yep, one more sapling for them. They're just going to gain the 2 and draw the card here, though. Looks like they do indeed. Alright, they get their final sapling, and we'll head to their turn now. Land. Pass, I'm assuming. Land pass it is. Verdant Force with the fungal plots on the board. Good gravy. Again, we have 4 life gain at instant speed on the board. Pretty good to attack in. There's the Verdant Force. Land from our opponent means lethal here. I think. Not quite. But we do get to attack all, put them in a very, very bad spot. They go down to 3 life, meaning they have to block everything else. Definitely have to block Verdant Force, so they go chump. They have to block Tatyova, so they could, I guess they could double block Tatyova and go to 1. But certainly not a good time for our opponent. A really big stabilization from us. Fungal Plot's really putting in work. Beautiful card that game. On the play here, no blue source yet, but Surveyor gets us that on 3. I'll keep this for sure. Powerful late game plays. There are a lot of formats where I would be very concerned about this hand, but I don't think this is one of those formats. To the point where I might even hold the Sapling Migration to try to kick it later. Blue-green from our opponent, and they pass the turn here. No Syncopate for Skittering Surveyor, please. Be kind of weird to syncopate it. I mean, I get it if they do. Alright. You got it. Unfortunate. Kind of coin flippy to syncopate a Skittering Surveyor, because there's a lot of hands where it's just not necessary, and now they don't have the syncopate for our Bolas's Clutches later. Stuff like that. Got Spore Crown Thallid. We can make 2 1/1s here, but then if they attack in with 4 mana up, they could play Blink of an Eye to bounce one of our 1/1s and kill both of our 1/1s on the attack, so even if we cast Sapling Migration, we're not using it to block Thallid, so I'm just going to hold it. I guess another thing that could explain the Syncopate is that they're just running a ton of counters. There's Hammered Explorer. Lots of people like milling for fun, which is rude, especially when they mill our fungal plots. That would have been so good if they didn't mill fungal plots and then we drew it off the top. Like, thanks for the mill. But I guess they didn't even mill a creature. Unfortunate. Alright, now if we hit the mana to kick this Sapling Migration, we'll have a 4/4 Howler on board. That'll be pretty cool. Hello, Armored Explorer. Get in there, Hill Giant. Tatyova. But I am the one who Tatyovas. Yeah, I'm just going to get rid of that while they're tapped out, even though I could play a kicked spell this turn. It's just not deal with Tatyova. Divination from our opponent, drawing a couple cards. Fingers crossed, blue source. We don't need to cast in Bolas's Clutches, but I really want to draw land so that I can cast Kicked Sapling Migration, holding up a mana for Syncopate. And the best land to draw would be a blue source, because then we'd have in Bolas's Clutches in the future. Ooh, Song of Freyalise. We are now no longer worried about our opponent's counter spells. Song of Freyalise is scary, though. They're guaranteed to get a counter on at least 2 of their creatures. If they have more creatures in hand, that'll be pretty explosive. I think I want to grow from the ashes here, set up our Bolas's Clutches, and also make Halar bigger. Could also just stop all of the damage instead by going for Sapling Migration right now. If I kick Grow from the Ashes, though, I can play Tetsuko Umezawa as well, and that kind of stops all the damage. We've got a 4/4 and a 1/3 out that theoretically blocks everything they have on board. And we're set up if we draw Siege Gang Commander as well. And we're set up if we draw Verdant Force. We've got all the mana we need for any of our multicolor bombs. There's our own Song of Freyalise. 8 mana here. They are completely untapped with 4 mana up, and they have Song of Freyalise out. If they had creatures in hand, they would have dumped them. They're so likely to counter whatever they do, or whatever we do, but I don't even know what's best. These are all great cards. Sapling Migration is probably a little better than Song of Freyalise here. Right, because if Sapling Migration gets countered, Song of Freyalise is going to put a counter on 2 of our cards. If Song of Freyalise gets countered, we're still going to have 4 1/1s and a 5/5 trample, so I think we Song of Freyalise first. Have that be the counterspell bait. They don't counter it. So no counterspells in hand, so Sapling Migration here? Because there's no way. The counterspells would be Syncopate or Wizard's Retort, either of which could have absolutely countered that Song of Freyalise. I guess Syncopate couldn't, actually. So if they have Syncopate, they get to counter Sapling Migration. But we're never going to have enough mana for Sapling Migration to not get Syncopated, so just go for it. Alright, no Syncopate either. Alright, this is wild. They get their Indestructible attack in this turn, which means I'm not really going to want to block at all. I guess I can block with a 5/5. A 5/5 can block an Indestructible 4/4, but a 1/3 can't block an Indestructible 3/3, so let's get our 1 point of damage in here. I am at 12. It's kind of sketchy when this Song of Freyalise pops off here. Potentially pretty big hit here. Oh god, it's Spore Swarm with Spore Crown Thallid and Song of Freyalise. Is that just lethal? Not quite. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. If I stop 4 of it, it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I have to stop more damage than that. I go to 1 life if I do this. That basically kills me. I'm basically just dead from the Spore Swarm. Yeah. We've got Wild Onslaught in hand. We're super mega dead no matter what. We can't kill any creatures because they're all indestructible this turn. They won't be trampled next turn though, so I think this is honestly our best bet. Sure, we die to like a single removal spell or anything, but This way we actually have enough blockers to maybe survive next turn's attack. Never mind. Never mind. That's 6 more creatures. Brutal game. Can take their Thallid, but then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blockers to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 attackers. If one gets in, we're dead. Rough. Alright, we're on the play here with a pretty early Tatyova. I'm all for it. Nothing, no other gas in this hand, but Tatyova draws us into more cards. So Tatyova can definitely make up for that. Always bolt the bird. We've still got an early Tatyova thanks to Grow from the Ashes here. We'll be sad not to have Grow from the Ashes with Tatyova on board, but the odds of this Tatyova lasting more than one turn are dramatically low anyway. Playing against the Blue-Red Wizards. Definitely one of the better, more annoying decks in the format. Tolarian Scholar. Rather fungal plots here. I do not want Tatyova to die without drawing us a card, which is a very big possibility if we just slam it down after playing our land per turn, because they can have Wizard's Lightning or Fight with Fire during their turn. Take 3 and we get a 1/1 here. Get 2 Journey Mage is the play. Let's get our 1/1. Alright, Tatyova, draw our card. We don't have any 1-drops in either color, so it doesn't really matter which land we play. The red source is nice. Divination from our opponent. Red source for the turn. Send in the Journey Mage, no blocks. Definitely representing no combat trick there. If they had run amok or something, they would have sent in everybody. What do we got off Tatyova this turn? Another Sapling Migration. Well, let's just start jamming these things out, shall we? Song of Freyalise and still have the mana to kick a Sapling Migration with the 1 extra for Syncopate 2. So we get to cast both and still have the Syncopate mana. It's just beautiful. Beautiful stuff. Especially with the fungal plots on board. Deck is doing things this game. Yeah, I was going to say, they want to get as aggressive as possible because they want to whittle down our board state as much as possible before Song of Freyalise pops off. Otherwise, they just have no chance of killing us. Yeah, we can do this, and then if they play some kind of trick... Probably rather do this, and then if they play some kind of trick, then we can just sack the saplings and gain a couple life. We just take 3 here. It's very fine. Alright, we can make it so they don't draw a card, but we do, and we still stop the damage and gain 2 here. They no longer have a legal target, so they do not draw a card. That worked pretty well. Fungal plots, being able to play around tricks is awesome for us. Wow, this Spore Swarm's going to be huge too. Good lord. Draw the Tatyova card. Drop our Sapling Migration. 1 mana off from playing Spore Swarm and Tolarian Scholar, and Spore Swarm would definitely be better. So we're going to go for Spore Swarm. Just go even wider. I should have attacked with these 3. No real reason not to. Still have plenty of blockers. Actually, yes, there is a reason not to, because I need the mana for Spore Swarm. Mirari Conjecture, return an instant from their grave to their hand. Alright. Pick up a Shivan Fire so they can kill Tatyova, or pick up a Befuddle for combat. There's Shivan Fire. Going to combat, and it's just about time for the world's largest Song of Freyles. Not the actual largest, but close enough. Yep, that's pretty bonkers. Everybody's indestructible. Everybody's getting in. That's 18 damage. We will also gain a life and draw a card. There's an Academy Journey Mage in hand as well. Don't really want to overextend. I can't think of like a blue or red Wrath here, but I also can't think of how on earth they survive if there isn't one against 10 2/2s at 2 life. So I think we just hold the fort. I guess I probably should have just plopped everything down, because even if they Wrath, right, we just sacrifice 10 Saplings and draw 5 cards and gain 10 life. Yeah, we had a backup plan if they Wrath, which was to just get a whole new hand, so there wasn't really a reason not to jam those out. Either way, that'll be the victory. We'll be 3-1 now. Here we are in round 5. We're 3-1. Pretty nice start. Skittering Surveyor here, Scholar for an early Journey Mage. All 3 colors already. Definite keep with Surveyor ready to grab the second red or blue, whichever we need first. We have 1 double blue card, 1 double red card. However, we have a lot more blue cards than red cards, so if we don't draw either of those cards, we'll just hit up another island here. Or we'll just naturally draw it, and now Surveyor's definitely getting us the second mountain. But we're going to play Scholar and Journey Mage first, most likely. Since we don't need the Surveyor to hit all of our land drops, we've already got them. Grow from the Ashes as well. We're really going to thin our deck out here. Get a bunch of mana ready, so we'll be able to cast anything, including but not limited to Verdant Force. That has won us a couple games already. Maybe we'll see it showing up again. So it looks like another blue-red deck here. Blue-red Wizards, it is a pretty strong deck. It's one of the strongest aggro decks, definitely the strongest tempo deck with all the bounce that it has. One thing I have noticed, though, is we are playing against it a lot, so it might be just too popular. So all of the decks are just competing for the same cards, making it generally a bit weaker because of how many people are just like taking those cards. That being said, I say that after in this draft pod me taking a bunch of wizard cards because they were just kind of rolling around, so maybe not. Shivan Fire my Journey Mage. Sad day for the Journey Mage. It did still slow them down though, at least to kill that. Or bounce that Relic Runner, make them recast it if they want. 5 mana this turn, probably just going to grow from the Ashes and thin out the deck if we don't draw a better card to play. We do not draw a better card to play, so grow from the Ashes it is. Got 3 green, 3 blue, so we definitely get that second red and probably a 4th green. And this 4/3 is the biggest thing on board. Once we get our Surveyor down, though, we can double block it well. There might have been a reason to go Surveyor instead of Grow from the Ashes, but not super concerned. I was at 20 life, so. Alright, we are at that point. We've just drawn kind of just all our mana stuff, so we need some gas, or we're going to start dying pretty quickly here, even to just this flyer. Song of Freyles isn't exactly what I want, but it's going to have to do. I think we kind of have to drop it down. Unfortunately, yeah, we don't have enough creatures for this to be particularly impactful. Yeah, this is actually going to be really bad, because I'm going to have to double block Keldon Raider, so all this is going to do is get a single +1/+1 counter on one of our creatures. Do I even just hold this in hand? Honestly, I think I'm probably supposed to just hold on to Song of Freyles. It is just actively bad right now. Which is fair enough. Usually Song of Freyles absolutely pops off, so gotta get some punishment. Otherwise, this card would be completely bonkers if it just always popped off. So there are going to be positions like this where we're just like, doesn't really do anything. Get pretty scared now. We are dying fast. they had a single burn spell or bounce spell, they'd be getting in with Raider because they could kill one of these in response to our blocks. Ooh. Unless they're playing really defensively with their removal, which is fair enough. If they are, then goodbye Tatyova. Oh no, is it just counter spells in hand? Brutal. Well, I'm going to start holding these lands because we do have 2 Tatyovas in this deck, which is worth noting. So I don't want to draw Tatyova and then have no more lands to play to draw more cards. Academy Journey Mage. Yep, that lets them get a free attack in here with everybody. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We go to 1. No, we're dead. We just did not draw enough gas at all this game. Yeah, that was pretty brutal. 3 and 2 it is. Here we are in game 6. This is the kind of make it or break it here that decides between whether we break even with a 4-3 or better run, or we fall into the land of 3-3 mediocrity. So hopefully we can pull out a victory, at least in this game here. And this is a keepable hand. It does have the same risk our last hand had, where if we don't draw gas this game, we're gonna run out of gas because most of this hand is mana, Grow from the Ashes, Skittering Surveyor, and lands. But at least we do have Halar this time, which is a threat. Again, that is likely to draw removal, though, and just get killed immediately, but we'll see how it does for us. Against blue-white, they cannot kill it this early in the game. All they can do is bounce it, so let's get it right onto the board here. Best they can do is turn it into a 0-4 defender, which is not a horrible deal. They do get rid of its abilities, too, but we get to block their 2-mana 3/1s and their 3/2s and stuff like that with it. Although all they've cast here is flyers, that's going to be a problem for us. We don't have a lot going on in the sky. Probably want to grab our second green source with Skittering Surveyor here, because we have quadruple blue. We definitely want to kick this Grow from the Ashes in the future, so we don't want to play that this turn. And I guess we're getting in with Halar because we are certainly not blocking flyers with them, which is kind of weird because they are an archer. I think if this were in a modern set, it would be Trample, Reach, or at the minimum, it would be Reach instead of Trample. Now we've got a Fiery Intervention we're probably going to have to use to get this Juggernaut out of the way because we can't just sit here and take 5 every turn. Fortunately, if we use that there, we're not doing anything about the flyers, which is scary, but we are somewhat racing here. Blue has really good tempo plays and white has really good removal now that they have 5 mana. They can Blessed Light to exile one of our creatures. They can Blink of an Eye for 4 mana to bounce a creature and draw a card. They can Academy Journey Mage for 5 to bounce a creature. Oh god. You're just going all in on the flyers here, all in on the Historic with Forebear's Blade now that can give one of them +3/+0 Vigilance and Trample. Yep. Forebear's Blade's gonna kill us here. And unfortunately, we've drawn almost all mana. Again, no real gas. We did draw that 1 Fiery Intervention. That was useful, but mostly just mana here. We cannot outrun that Forebear's Blade, that is for sure. But we can try. Let's see, we take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're not dead unless they cast 2 Historic spells this turn. So who knows? If we top deck some kind of wild kicker card, we could get the win out of nowhere next turn. Very unlikely, though. Yeah, I guess if they just equip and tap out and we top deck anything with kicker, we do win. Because Halar deals 2 damage when we cast the kicker spell and then 5 when it hits them. So there's still a shot. Game isn't entirely over, it's just pretty likely to be over. Yeah, these are the risks you take when you play a pretty rampy, mana-fixy kind of deck. I'm very glad I didn't go for the 18 land version, though, with Skittering Surveyor double Grow from the Ashes. Definitely don't think I should have went 16 lands, I just think it's just bound to happen sometimes. County Drake is a blocker, so now we would need a removal spell that has kicker to win on the spot. They do have lethal on us next turn still, even if they only attack with the glider, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the sky, plus 3 from... Yeah. They have 9 damage next turn. In the sky here. Now, it's incredibly unlikely we find lethal here. There's the Verdant Force, which is super cool, super bomby, but does not do anything against flyers. So that is gonna be game. I guess we could have attacked with Halar before we cast anything, so they'd be scared of a combat trick, and maybe we kill the Academy Drake there and trample over for a couple damage. But even if we kill one of their blockers, which is all that we would kill, just Academy Drake, they still have lethal, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, they have exact lethal, even if they made a block out of fear there, so it doesn't matter. Unless they, for some really weird reason, decided to block with their Sarah Disciple and Academy Drake, which I think is basically impossible. That they would end up doing that. 3 and 3 it is for the Teamer Tatyova deck. Disappointing finish with it. Definitely a bit of variance there. We did have our last 2 games, we just got basically 0 gas, but that is what'll happen. Our deck's weaknesses definitely showing up there. We have a pretty low removal count, not a lot of ways to deal with flyers. So that was a lot of how that last match ended up too, where even if we weren't flooding out, we probably still don't have a particularly good time in that game. But I think our second loss, we absolutely could have won that matchup with better draws. But Magic is a game of variance. It is bound to happen, and a 3 and 3 is still an even run. At least not a negative win rate or anything. But that is going to end today's draft. As always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, just stick around on the channel. There'll be plenty more in the near future. And as always, thank you all again for watching, and I'll see you soon for some more Magic Arena.